Hey, welcome everybody to Getting a Grip on the Michigan Business Network. I am your host, Mike Maddox. I am thrilled to be with you today and talk about EOS and how to get fundamentally strong in the six foundational elements of your business. More importantly, to hear from business leaders on how they have done that, how they are doing that, how they are getting strength, getting 80% to 100% stronger in these foundational areas. And I'm really thrilled to have with me today a guest, a great company, great person. I've been excited to have you on the program for a while. Ryan Henderson, owner and CEO of AC&E Rentals. Ryan, welcome.
Hi, Mike. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to do this, and I've got a lot to share, so I'm pumped up.
Absolutely, and we're excited to get into it. And so before we dive into some of the meat and potatoes of EOS and foundational strength, why don't we start though with you telling our listeners a little bit about AC&E if they're not familiar with the company.
Absolutely. We are an independent equipment rental company. So we rent equipment out, to homeowners, contractors, anywhere from a drum sander all the way up to, anything 20,000 pounds. So a compact telehandler, excavators, mini excavators, skid steers, big wood chippers. So, we rent to anybody, so if you're a homeowner, you've never rented a piece of equipment before, we have that happen every single day where you have somebody that comes in and they want to rent something, they're intimidated. So we'll rent it to them. We've got contractors who rent that stuff and run it every single day. So they're very familiar. So we do that. Um, and we have, the company's been around since 1967. And I've been the owner since 2004. That's the second generation. And we just continue to grow and sort of work within our niche that we have, of helping the local economy and the local everything grow in our community. We love to see new subdivisions, new commercial buildings, um, going up, and we love to be a part of that. And that's what we're excited about. Is take a lot of pride in seeing buildings that we know that we didn't do it ourselves, but some of our equipment was on that site and helped to make that happen. That's pretty cool.
And I think you mentioned this, but two locations, right?
Yeah, we have two locations in Lansing. So one in the east side in Okemos and the west side in Grand Ledge. And so, yeah, that's what we do. That's who we are.
And maybe a little bit about the uniqueness of AC&E, knowing the company as well as I do. Talk about what makes you a little different than maybe some of the large equipment rental places, or maybe the equipment rental you can do at like a Home Depot. I mean, you fill a unique niche, and why don't you expand on that a bit because that'll resonate for folks that are listening to us.
Absolutely. So, where we fit in is we're an independent rental company. So we're not a dealer. So we don't sell any equipment. We just strictly rent, which is very unique in our marketplace. And so we really, really take a lot of pride in that. And and we feel like we can serve our customers better that way because we can provide the equipment that the customer wants. We don't have an affiliation with a huge equipment manufacturer that says, hey, you need to have all of our products on site. You need to sell them and rent them, even if those aren't the best products, but you are, obviously they have a lot of leverage over you. And so we don't have that situation where we aren't compromised in that regard. So we feel like that's really puts us in a unique position to provide absolutely the best equipment for our customers. And so they'll get the best price and the highest quality, um, for their job. So,
And a high level of service along with that too,
yeah,
right?
and so yeah, so we cater to the small contractors, and we also the other thing is short-term rentals. So a lot of these bigger companies, they, if somebody wants to come in and rent something for a half day or for a day, they have inside sales staff and they have counter staff to that they can do that, but that's not really their area of expertise. Their area of expertise is having their sales guys go out and call on these jobs in person, walk into a job trailer, take a site supervisor out to lunch, and have them rent out 15 pieces of equipment for 7 months at a time. And so it's more hands off where our customers, we want the guy that just wants to rent something for a day or for a half day. we want that guy. We want the guy that, you know, is just starting in this business. And we take a lot of pride in, we want to help people grow their business, you know, and we have every single year, we have guys that are just startup guys, whether they're out of college, out of high school, starting a remodeling, landscaping company. And when they start, they have nothing. They own zero pieces of equipment. So they come in and they rent stuff. And we sort of see it where it goes in phases where they grow their business to where they can afford to buy stuff. And then they grow to the next level and they don't have enough equipment for their needs. So then they start renting from us again. So we love being a part of that and seeing these guys grow their business. And we, you know, can always remember when they started off and they had zero, they had nothing. And,
Right.
you know, that's sort of what we want. That's, you know, the level of, you know, what differentiates from like a Home Depot is that, you know, Home Depot has the same kind of rentals. They have the smaller tools and the shorter rental terms, but, you know, they have employees that they might take from the paint department or from hardware
Yeah.
and say, hey, you know, we don't have anybody covering the rental department. Go cover the rental department. And so just it's a body there that's, you know, just so it doesn't look like there's something there, but it's not really anything of significance because they don't have the knowledge or the helpful advice to really answer the customer's questions and you know, or if they do take something out and have an issue, they're not going to be able to call that person and say, hey, you know, this is happening or that's happening. What do I do? We know what to do. We know how to
Right.
answer those questions, and we've been through that. And you know, our experience. You know, we've got guys that have been here for a long time, guys and gals that have been here for a long time. That you know, we know what to do. We know the you know potential issues that somebody might have, and so we're you know we sort of that's what separates us. I feel from everybody else.
Yeah, well said. And I think that, that fits in. It's right along the lines of like understanding, and you can tell listening to you how well you understand the core. It gets into the core values of what AC&E is. Also gets into your core focus, your purpose, cause, and passion to help
Yep.
that early stage contractor, that smaller contractor, that do-it-yourselfer, the guy with a pickup, right, and a dream.
Yes.
And I've
Yes.
heard you
Yeah.
say that. Um,
Yes. Yeah.
and that comes through loud and clear, and that level of service goes with that. So thank you for going through that. So been around a long time. I said 1967, if I've
Yes.
got that right.
Yes.
How is the business different today on EOS than it was prior to EOS? What are some things that you've noticed about the business that have changed?
Um, well, we started with EOS because you know we had consistently and successfully grown the business each and every year since you know post recession, the Great Recession, 2000, probably 11 or 12. We got to a point a couple years ago where it felt like it wasn't as fun, you know, and the margins that we had were still good, but they weren't great, and we just felt like we were sort of struggling, and it felt like we were maybe getting the same result, sometimes sadly a little bit less of a result, but we were working felt like 10 times harder. And just the energy that we were using to try to do that was significant. And we felt like something's got to give. Like we are at a point where, you know, you almost feel like this isn't sustainable. You know, how are we going to
Yeah.
continue to grow the business? And, you know, you sort of make a choice at that time. Do you just want to just ride it out and just just sort of bump along at where you're at, or do you want to continue to grow the business? And so we made the decision that yeah, we want to absolutely grow the business. And I was turned on to EOS by some business friends that I have, and in a group that I belong to, and they're all equipment rental guys, very similar size business to what we have. And a lot of the guys had started, some of it had started like before they joined the group, and then some had implemented it after joining the group. And I just saw the hesitation for the guys that started after they joined the group, the hesitation to start, and then their attitude and them speaking so highly of it afterwards, where they were like, "This has made a huge difference. This really changed the business and the trajectory of what we're going to do." And I was still just, I think I had to get to a point where we needed it as a company for me to really like look at it as this is going to be the method and the tool and how we're going to get to where we need to go. And so, we went from, I would say before EOS to now, you know, I don't want to say the dream had died, but sort of like what I thought was possible, that had sort of, I felt like, a huge slice of humble pie came my way. And I'm like, well, maybe this is just all that there is. Maybe this is it. But now I feel like um, it's, we have that dream again, and we have that vision, to be able to take the next steps to get to where we want to go. And, that's, the EOS, you put everything systematically, you put it down, and you've got your short-term goals, your 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, 10 year, and all the key metrics that you put in there. And it gives you that framework. And then the other part of the system is the fact that it gives you the operational functionality and operational tools to really, really push through with the L10s and the organizational chart, and doing like the quarterly conversations, and holding people accountable. So that's literally that's the traction that you
Yeah.
get, have the framework in place, and you really hit the ground running, and you really, really move along at a quick pace, and then but at efficient pace and a manageable pace. And that's what we've seen, is that we're, you know sort of the idea of growing the business to a level that we wanted to originally is back, and we have the tools in place to achieve that. That's exciting.
Yeah, very well said. I mean, and if you're listening to us and you're not familiar with the EOS, Ryan, you touched on a couple of really important themes, which is, all businesses eventually hit that ceiling. They hit multiple ceilings, and you have to, at that point in time in your business, you either grow or you die. I truly believe that.
Yep.
You can tolerate hitting the ceiling for a while, but eventually you're going to go one way or the other. And I hear that from other companies too, and other clients, that and I like the way you said it, and I'll probably borrow that. I felt like the dream had died, right? And you just didn't feel that same sense of motivation. And that is humbling as an entrepreneur. That's humbling as a business owner. But then to get that back again, that vision is cathartic, but it's only meaningful if you pair it with traction, with the tools and the operating system and the methodologies, and getting the right people in the right seats, and getting the right metrics, and the meeting pulse, the things that you mentioned. That's what gives you the ability to hit that vision, ultimately, to be moving forward, to break through that ceiling. And that's what the whole system is designed to do. So if you're not familiar with EOS, that sums up the purpose and why I love it, and what I experienced personally, and what I'm seeing with other businesses like AC&E. So thank you for explaining that and going through that. I think that's very well said. Um, what would you say, flipping it a little bit? So that's what it's done for the business. How about you personally, as a business owner, as a business leader? How has EOS impacted you?
I guess, I talked a little bit, from a, personal standpoint. At least it, like you said, the dream, it had died. And so it has, sparked another, like a lot of motivation in me to want to go out there and do that. And it has given me, I guess, I don't want to say like, it has eased my mind, but
Yeah,
it has given my mind that focus again that I used to have, where I was just like, I felt like before I always had an edge to what I was doing, and I was just like so driven and so focused to get to where I wanted to be. And I felt like that was very dull, before we decided to go to traction. And so, from a personal standpoint, it has, resparked the drive and the motivation to go out there and do things. And, where I find myself before this, before EOS, like on a Sunday night, I'm sitting at home, and I'm like, and I don't know if I want to go in the office tomorrow. It's Monday,
yeah,
but when I was
yeah,
younger and I was just getting going, it was like, I mean, I couldn't wait. I wanted to go to bed. I wanted to show up to work, and I
yeah.
wanted to try to
Couldn't
work towards
wait.
my goal,
Yeah,
and so that has happened, that's been very, very helpful. And, it's, yeah, I mean, from a personal standpoint, it's just made me, I feel like I, everything is, my personal life with my family, with my wife, with my kids. I just feel like all the relationships are better because I'm at ease with and understanding what's actually happening, as opposed to just always having a gnawing question like what's wrong with me? Like, why can't I figure
Yeah.
this out? Why can't we continue to grow the business? There's nothing wrong with me. It's just we didn't have the tools in place to achieve that, and so that's really helped. And
Yeah,
yeah,
that's a good point. I mean, it's extremely hard to be the best you can be in your as a husband, father, in your family, with friends, personal life, when as a business owner, and business owners will relate to this, when you feel that weight constantly crushing you down, right? And that takes away that joy that we all felt originally as entrepreneurs when we got into business of I can't wait to get to the office. I've got so many ideas and things I want to do and move this thing forward and grow it. And when that weight starts to crush you, it's suffocating. And I love the fact that part of the transformation that you hear time and time again is the weight was lifted. There's a structure, there's a methodology, there's a framework, there's a system in place now that, not to say that it's not going to require your hard work, it will, but I don't have to feel that pressure anymore, like I'm running in quicksand, right? That's the way I used to feel prior to EOS. It was like I was constantly running in quicksand. I
right.
didn't feel that way anymore.
Right. No, and I agree. I would say like before I was running on EOS, which is like the unique operating system, which the way that I see the world, and having with EOS and having it with an enterprise, and it's a framework, it's a system that I didn't create, I didn't come up with, and it's something that everybody can use and apply in their own business. So I felt like I wasn't holding up, my world all by myself, and so now I feel like I've got um, it's the burden is being shared, I guess, and so it definitely has helped, with that.
So I like that UOS. I'll use
Yeah.
that too. So are there particular tools that stand out? You mentioned a few already. If, for listeners that maybe aren't running yet on EOS, the L10 meeting is how we run our meetings, very intentional, very structured, with the intent of every meeting needs to create value. We're not just going to meet to talk. We're going to create value and action items and solve issues. Are there others that stand out to you as you've gone down this journey?
So yeah, the L10 is definitely has helped, but I would say, as simple as saying the organizational chart was
Yeah.
really meaningful for our company, and being a small company with not a lot of employees. We've been two locations for a very long time, and had employees here for, that are very loyal and have been around for a long time. But over the years, all of the job roles that we had created as we've grown, have been tailor made to that individual their personality, and not
Yeah.
actually what they should be doing, not what a store manager should do, not what a rental yard manager should do or a mechanic should do. It's like, okay, what can this person do? Well, they're really good at this. Their unique skill set was the job description. And that's not fair to, if we're going to scale the business and grow in layers or in locations, how am I expected to have, if I've got a store manager that has a unique skill set and we have a job description fitted around his personality, I can't clone that individual to
Right.
go work at a different location.
It's
So
not scalable.
it wasn't scalable and it wasn't fair. And so we really had to sit down, and it was awakening for me to say, like, we've been doing this wrong. And that's part of the inefficiencies and sort of the ceiling that we were hitting our head up against was, well, wait a second, our job descriptions, from like as basic as that sounds, are very limiting, and not helping us, and we can't grow, and so
Yeah.
that was,
You,
I would say that's one of the biggest things.
and you're in good company. I mean, every client that I work with, that is an eye-opening experience when we do the accountability chart for the first time and start building that out. When we say we start with structure first, not people. So
Yeah.
we forget the names, we forget what the current job roles and the current titles, and we build the structure that's best for the business. And that's completely eye-opening because most of us didn't do it that way, right? Not intentionally. We just kind of morphed into the structure we had.
Yeah.
So I love the fact that you touched on that. Is there any advice that you'd give to entrepreneurs that are thinking about EOS, maybe have read the book, or are maybe early in their journey? Are there some things that you'd throw out there as nuggets of wisdom? Yeah, you're a little over a year and a quarter into your journey. made enormous progress in that year and a quarter as a business AC&E has. What advice would you give?
For the guy who's thinking about doing it, I would say read the book, but don't try to understand the book at a very deep level and then try to implement it yourself, because it won't work. Like, you read the book and understand it and understand the concepts and sort of what they're trying to accomplish, but then hire a coach to help with every single step along the way. And I've had people in my business group, my rental business group, that have one person in particular, they didn't want to pay for a coach, and so they, read the book a couple different times. Their management team read the book, and then they tried to implement it themselves. And I can tell just by conversations that he has with the rest of the group who is doing, traction, that he's definitely not on the same page. Like, he's approaching it a totally different way, and not the right way. And so he's spinning his wheels a lot. And so he's not really going to get that traction, because he's not doing and using all the tools properly. It's like he's, like he's got like a bicycle tire on a Corvette. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up, because if you're listening to us and you're not super familiar with how it works, EOS, all the tools, the framework, the structure, we give it away. So it's out there. You can go out, you can buy the books, you can get the tools, you can get all of it yourself, and we give it away. So theoretically, a business can implement EOS without an implementer, professional implementer like me or others. The downside of that is you want somebody who's objective and not in the weeds of the business day to day to help guide and coach you and facilitate and draw things out of you. And what I've always said to leadership teams that I work with is 99% of the time, all the answers to all the issues are right there in the room, and a good coach will get them out of you. But when you're too close to it, it's hard to do that. Plus, you don't have the advantage of knowing the tools and knowing the system as well as a coach would. Like anything else you do in life, if I want to become better at golf, really, and I want to get serious about it, which I have to date not really gotten serious about it, but I'd get a coach, right? I get somebody outside to give me advice and input. So I think that's a really good point. You bring that up. But it can be done, but you'd advise against it. So I appreciate that. Last question I have for you is a personal question about, and I ask this on every podcast: if there's a song or a poem or a movie scene or something that motivates you or that you've used to motivate your team, something that comes to mind, I'd love for you to share that with our listeners.
That's a tough question. Something that would motivate my team. I don't know. I think
or even just you, something
I would say that I am and I guess sort of past tense now, but a huge Nick Saban fan. And he was a coach at Michigan State University. I was, an undergrad at Michigan State, and
you're
I
dating
actually
yourself.
yeah, and I actually coached his son, was like a fourth grader, and he went to my old high school, and so I coached his son on like just like a like a basketball team, and he would show up sometimes, and it was always intimidating, just his presence. If he was the only parent sometimes that would show up, watch practice, as busy as he was. And I always had this really a lot of respect for him, even though a lot of people didn't. And so I guess I sort of, a lot of the things I try to do is, just that perfecting the process, like with EOS, everybody knows it, and same thing with, his football programs. Everybody knew his system, but nobody could replicate it like he could, because he was, he was, every day was a perfect day. Like, he had to win every practice, he was, after achieving success, even the smallest little mundane task or fundamental of doing something, he made sure that people perfected that part of the process. And I feel like that's how I've sort of approached. I try to anyway. Approach that. Yeah,
I love that. That is great. I had a guy I was talking to last week. We were talking about the importance of practicing business fundamentals and business tools, and he happened to be a boxer in his former life, professional boxer, and he said, it'd be like not using the tools, not practicing fundamentals in business would be like a boxer saying, I want to become the light heavyweight champion. And instead of going to the gym and practicing my footwork and practicing my body skills, practicing my punching skills, my leverage, I'm just going to schedule more fights. I'm just going to do more business, right? It doesn't
Yeah.
work that way. You've got to get back to practice and fundamentals, and guys like Nick Saban are a great example of that. So thanks for bringing that up. Thanks for
Absolutely.
being on. This has been a fascinating conversation, Ryan. I appreciate it very much. Ryan Henderson, the owner and CEO of AC&E Rentals right here in Lansing, Michigan, beautiful Lansing, Michigan. Thanks for being a guest.
Thank you. It was my pleasure, and I enjoyed it. Thanks.
Thanks everybody for listening. You've been listening to Getting a Grip on the Michigan Business Network. Stay tuned for our next episode. We will catch you on the flip side.